You have that camera setup up top. Now this dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens and then a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, at that time was actually a pretty good camera setup. And I don't think this may have been the first Note phone with a dual camera setup. I could be mistaken. I totally forget about the Note 7 because I never owned it. But with that dual camera setup, you're definitely getting a really decent camera setup for a 2017 phone. You can shoot 4K videos on it. Unfortunately, you cannot do 4K at 30, which does kind of suck a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, this was a 2017 phone, so we kind of have to give it a little bit, cut some slack for it. But the quality of this camera is still actually pretty decent. If you're trying to take photos outside and videos for the most part, they're going to look okay. They have optical image stabilization, and it's not going to be that bad of a camera lens for sure. Now, is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. There's going to be a lot of problems with it. I think more so in terms of the frame rate and the lack of ultra-wide sensor, but you still have a telephoto lens that you can, film with or, shoot video on. So that really kind of future-proofed it by itself a little bit. And on the front, you have an 8 megapixel wide angle lens, then I guess a 2 megapixel, iris scanner, which is like an eye scanner, but it's not really worth noting because it's not really that big of a deal. But the front camera may be the biggest, disadvantage for this camera setup because it doesn't shoot 4K at 60 and because it just isn't really that great of a front camera. That's one of the bigger problems with this specific phone. But the back camera is actually pretty decent. It just so happens that the front camera really isn't that great. So to kind of keep that in mind going through. But in terms of the camera setup, it's definitely not bad, but that's definitely something to kind of keep in mind. But one thing that is pretty bad on this device would definitely be the software.